see a good turnout. So I'd just like to welcome you all here tonight. I know it's kind of cold and blustery out, so appreciate you guys coming out. My name is Mike Arnold. I'm the president of Solidarity for Palestinian Human Rights Calgary. And just before we get going, I'm going to talk a little bit about SPHR, Solidarity for Palestinian Human Rights, as an organization before we let our speaker Mordecai get going. So SPHR is a non-profit, student-based organization that advocates on a strong social justice platform to uphold the rights of the Palestinian people in the face of human rights violations in all forms of racism, discrimination, misinformation, and misrepresentation. Through awareness-raising advocacy work, nonviolent direct actions, solidarity building, and the promotion of Palestinian identity, culture, and history, SPHR works to support and protect Palestinian human rights both locally and internationally. Our objectives as a national organization are to promote and protect Palestinian human rights both locally and internationally, including the right of resistance against human rights abuses. Combat all forms of racism, discrimination, misinformation, and misrepresentation directed at Palestinians and Arabs. To support the right of return and the right to compensation for all Palestinian refugees. The right of return and the right to compensation are inalienable and individual rights which cannot be delegated, diminished, or forfeited by any representation on behalf of the Palestinians in any agreement or treaty. Also, we're here to advocate for the end of Israeli colonialism and all forms of imperialism that infringe upon the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination. To promote recognition of the Palestinian people as the indigenous people of Palestine and to work in solidarity with other indigenous peoples in a wider struggle for land, dignity, and rights. To underline that the struggle of the Palestinian people is not a struggle against the Jewish people, but rather a struggle against the colonialist and imperialist policies of the Israeli government and the ideology upon which that state was formed. So, as human rights activists and advocates, we stand against all forms of racism and discriminatory speech. But we must also be vigilant against the manipulation of words and their twisting into something that they never were and not intended to be. Criticism of any state policy is legitimate, and this does not exclude Israel. And while we guard against all forms of racism, including that towards the Jewish community, we hold firm the right to stand up against aggression and to express ourselves freely. Today in Canada, which is a Western nation that espouses free speech, this right is under threat, especially when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian issue. We must stand up strongly for this right while it still exists, and we must stand up for the right to speak out against injustice. To quote Abraham Lincoln, to sin by silence when we should protest makes cowards out of men. So to get to our speaker tonight, Mr. Mordecai Briemberg, he's been facing this issue on a day-to-day basis and speaking on it for some time now, and hopefully will help shed some light on the issue of free speech around the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in Canada. Just some background on Mordecai. Mordecai was born and raised in Edmonton, graduated with an honors degree in political science from the University of Alberta, was a recipient of the Rhodes Scholarship for Alberta, went to Oxford in the UK and continued studies in political philosophy for 2 years. Transferring to the field of sociology, he continued postgraduate studies at the University of California at Berkeley. Returning to Canada in 1966 to teach at Simon Fraser University in the Lower Mainland, he later was elected chair of the Political Science, Sociology, and Anthropology Department. He has worked for trade unions, independent newspapers, done popular education, and taught English as a second language for 25 years at Douglas College in New Westminster. For more than 2 decades, Mordecai Briemberg has been a radio broadcaster on the 3-hour weekly public and cultural affairs program called Red Eye at Vancouver Cooperative Radio. He has been an anti-war activist for the last 45 years, being the anti-nuclear movement, the anti-Vietnam War movement, and currently organizes the StopWar.ca against the Canadian government involvement in wars against the people of Iraq and Afghanistan, Lebanon, and Palestine most particularly. Since 1967, he has campaigned actively for justice for the Palestinian people. Now, as a member of Canada-Palestine Solidarity Network, CanWest as it's known in short, and as a director on the board of the Near East Cultural and Educational Foundation. He is editor and contributor to the book It Was, It Was Not, Essays and Art on the War Against Europe. The YWCA in Vancouver recently honored Briemberg for his anti-war and Palestine support work with the International Peacemaker of the Year Award in 2008. For the same work in support of the just rights of the Palestinian people, CanWest Global Media targeted him with a SLAAP, or a strategic lawsuit against public participation. Although the charges were eventually dropped, an internationally supported Seriously Free Speech Committee has been formed to defend the authors against this SLAAP suit and to advocate across Canada for free expression without censorship, harassment, or criminalization on matters related to Israel-Palestine. So without further ado, please welcome Mordecai Briemberg. After the lecture, we'll have a question-answer comment period as well, so keep your questions that you have until the end and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to SPHR for organizing this meeting, and thank you for coming to it. As you can tell from the introduction, I'm about 25 years old. So more was revealed than I usually welcome. Anyway. And I do want to speak particularly about the subject of suppression of free speech on the issue of Israel and Palestine. I want to speak about it first in terms of the case with CanWest that was referred to, and then go to a more systematic analysis of what's been happening in Canada and attacks on free speech on this topic, and some ideas then as to what it is necessary to do to respond to such attacks. So just to start with the personal, I have a son who lives and works in Nicaragua, and Christmas time, December in 2007, I was waiting for a computer, laptop computer, to be delivered to my home to take down to Nicaragua. My son had arranged for that for his work. And I was sitting in the front room, and there's a knock at the door, and I went to the door expecting delivery of the laptop. And there was a man there and said, "Are you Mordecai Briemberg?" I said, "Yeah, that's me." He said, "I have something for you." I said, "Great, waiting for it. I was expecting it." He said, "Just sign here." And I was just kind of looking around, and I didn't see anything that looked like the size of a crate for a laptop. But anyway, he gave me a document to sign, and I signed, and I said to him, "Where's my laptop?" He said, "Laptop? I don't know anything about a laptop. I'm a sheriff. I deliver summons to courts. I just delivered one to you." I said, "Who's suing me?" He said, "I don't know. I just deliver." So I said, "Well, thanks. Bye." And I went inside, and I tore open the manila envelope. And on the front page, it said that CanWest Global was suing, and then it listed the name of a printer, a print shop in Vancouver, and then it listed my name, and then it listed 6 other names. John Doe 1, John Doe 2, John Doe 3, and because we live in the modern age where we have gender equity, Mary Joe 1, Mary Joe 2, Mary Doe 1, Mary Doe 2, Mary Doe 3. This is a common legal practice. You can sue somebody and claim there's a conspiracy, which they did, in producing a parody of the Vancouver Sun, and not know, or claim not to know, who all was involved. And as you discover, you feel more people that were involved, you then change the John Doe or the Mary Doe to the name of a real person.